Hello, 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 and welcome to the final Scoutcast of the season. Can't quite believe I'm saying that, but there you go. As always, brought to you by Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Andy, FPL Mode, and we are also joined by Seb. How is it going, Seb?
Evening, mate. It's going well, thank you. I'm hopeful. I have anticipation of a Callum Wilson hat trick live on stream. I've got it right over here. Wow, I've just seen the camera. You weren't lying. I am like over there.
You are, mate. You are.
Wow.
I
Sorry
did try
about that.
telling you. Yeah.
In mine, I'm in the middle, so you know.
We're gonna talk about that player that you just mentioned in a minute. Rich, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, good. Talking to cameras, I look like I'm on a NES or a SNES, don't
You,
I?
you look like chat roulette. That's like it reminds me of chat roulette for some reason. So
Andy sabotaged us on the
don't
the last week.
don't do what a lot of the guys used to do on chat roulette though, Rich.
I don't actually know what chat roulette is.
Do you not? Oh,
No.
people in the chat
Is
will
it,
know. People in
is
the
it like
chat
Habba Hotel?
will know. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. um, Seb, you've just mentioned it there. Obviously, a lot has happened since the last time we streamed. Callum Wilson turned into Superman for all of about 5 minutes at the end of the game and obviously propelled you in the top 10k.
Yeah, just clinging on. I mean, there's not much more to say about that, is there? Like, I think we caught a stream last week just in between that, didn't we? When he'd scored his jammy penalty. Then he scored a goal, got an assist at the end of a match. It's just a big old swing in it. Like, yeah, sure, if we knew he was going to start, what, 3 in a row, more people would be on him over Isak, because that would mean Isak was left.
Yeah.
So that was the gamble. The gamble wasn't he's going to outscore Isak by 4 goals and 1 assist to 1 assist, right? That's variance, that's a swing. So you take it. And it looks very fancy at this point of the season, right? If it happened in game week 10 and then nothing else had happened, we'd all forget about it.
The thing I will say is, though, we didn't get a leak and you still went for the Wilson pick anyway, which I commend you for. I think that was still took some risk, to be fair, because there was every chance he might not have played. Like, there were people with hindsight afterwards going, oh, he was always going to play and all that. But there was never that guarantee he was going to play. So to go for that, I think fair play. Rich and I both went for Isak. I said, even before a leak, I think I was going to go for Isak because of the security of it. You know, you went for Wilson, absolutely smashed it in the double game week, and you got that kind of, you're always looking for that in the last couple of weeks, aren't you? That big thing that's going to propel you up, and you managed to get it.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, that's kind of you. Cheers. I think we went through it, didn't we? Like before, like if there was, it's hard after the fact to try and say this was my thinking because either you sound smug or you just lie to yourself. Be like, oh, I knew he was going to play. He was on penalties. He'd be central. I guess some of that's true, but I don't know how much. I think like I knew it was a gamble, and then I think also I'm not the only person that did it, right? Some other people did it, but like I think it was a case of at the beginning of the week I'd said with you guys on here, I'd said, oh, I'd go Isak. And then I remember thinking about it and like, oh, if we don't get a leak, Eddie Howe's press conference, I think kind of suggested that he did like both of them together, although only gently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, well, if they do both start, Wilson's up front and he has penalties, that sounds decent. I'll take that X minutes risk. What I didn't predict is him getting, as many minutes as he had and obviously scoring the points. So yeah, a bit of luck and just being in the right place to receive the luck, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when swings like this happen, Rich, you must be the same as me. It's just a game of luck, isn't it? Like, there's no skill in this game.
Do you know what though? I have to respect. I mean, what Seb did. Seb took a risk.
Yeah.
You've taken a risk yourself, which I'm sure we'll get onto this week.
Yeah.
It hasn't paid off yet, but it's not been bad. Like you've both made genuine attempts at getting to the top 10k.
Yeah.
And I feel quite boring that I haven't. Like I'm boring myself. The moves that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And at least you both, made an attempt to go for it. And in not even in hindsight, but looking at the Wilson stats compared to the Isak stats, and the fact we knew that Wilson was on penalties, if they're both on the pitch, it seems really obvious in hindsight. Like it does.
That was the thing though. If you knew they were both on the pitch, right? So
Yeah.
I guess that was the gamble. Like, oh, if he's going to be on the pitch, good times. But that was the gamble. And I mean, we should stop talking about this because it's just like, well, you did well, Seb. Thanks, but
You're blushing, aren't you? But
like-
no, but it
But like-
deserves
but-
like a congratulations.
I think
we all
I
quite
think the
similar.
interesting thing, if I'm allowed, because I know I sometimes play like boringly safe, whatever it gets described as, right? And maybe this was a more interesting pick. I think I've said for a long time that my preference only is like pick your moment. So I guess that was a moment and it worked out. And he's picked a moment as well. And so far you are outscoring Haaland captain, but not quite to the same degree. So it doesn't mean the moment's going to work out. But it's not about like the takeaway here isn't like, oh, be different, take punts, do crazy stuff. it's about picking when you take that risk. Take a calculated risk. The rest of the time, play it safe, careful, whatever it is you want to call it, or just template, and then capitalize on the moments that there's an opportunity, I think.
And it was one risk in terms of you look at the rest of your team, the rest of your team was well set up. It was just one person, wasn't it, if that makes sense, which makes it mean if it fails, at least the rest of your team is going to pick you up, if that makes sense.
I mean, the last time I did it was Foden, and that went terribly. So
well, true, yeah. But there you go. So that's how the week's gone for all of us so far. Rich, you're kind of still. Were you still on a bit of a slide, or did you pick up a little bit and then a little bit of a red this week?
I kind of went on that streak, didn't I? Where I shot from 800k to 50k, and then I've just stagnated for weeks. And I mean, this week, you talk about picking moments. I think the only one I could have picked was last week if I went for Wilson over Isak.
Yeah.
There was nothing I could really do this week. I couldn't see anything obvious. There was a -8 to go for Alvarez.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have really paid off. So, and I can't see a moment for next week, but.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that though, aren't we?
We will, yes. Yeah.
So everybody that's joining us tonight, thank you so much. We've got over 100 people in the chat already, so thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll get a few more, especially when it gets to half-time in the game, potentially. We're going to have a look at our points, so how our game week has gone this week. Not game week 37, how it's going so far. Not game week 36 was the last time we saw you. It would be game week 37 so far and how that's going at the moment. We're going to be looking at fixtures for game week 38. Exciting, obviously. Usually there's quite a lot of goals in game week 38, so we'll look to see if we can pick out where we're expecting the goals to be. We're going to look at Seb's kind of gone on to review, and he's looked at the free model to see where people are in terms of their predicted points so far, and then we've used a bit of a rate my team to see some more points and maybe some players we should be picking. I picked a differential 11. I know people didn't like the differential 11 last time. You'll love it this time. Oh, there's some cracking players in there. And then we're going to have a look at our best teams. The community team, God, I hope some of us are beating the community team now. Seb, you should be. And then we're going to have some questions at the end. So, moving on to our points so far in game week 37. Me at the moment, I've got Kepa in goal with 2, Estupinan with 2, Trent with 1, Shaw with 9. Lovely stuff from Shaw there. Salah with 5, Matoma with 5, McAllister with 5. Rashford didn't play, so he's on 0 at the moment. Bruno Fernandes with 3 times 2 for me because I captained Bruno Fernandes over Haaland this week. Haaland with 1. Isak is playing at the moment. I benched Trippier and Botman, so you know they're keeping a clean sheet tonight. And then Greenwood with 1, and Raya on my bench with 4, who's got double what Kepa's got at the moment, but you never know. Hopefully Kepa can at least match Raya by the end of the week. So obviously Seb's already alluded to it. I did captain Bruno this week. I just had the feeling Haaland was only going to play one of the games. And because of that, I thought Bruno getting all the minutes on penalties, 2 nice fixtures, I thought could be a little bit of a swing my way with Haaland. Obviously, Haaland did. I wasn't expecting Arsenal to lose against Forest. I'm going to say that now. And obviously, City then rested completely against whoever it was. Against Chelsea, wasn't it? Haaland came on, which I was quite happy with actually, because if he was going to get, I didn't want him to miss the entire game. I wanted him to try and play a little bit, and maybe, hopefully he doesn't play as many minutes in the second game, but we'll see. This could still completely go wrong. Bruno did have a few shots, but he didn't look great, to be perfectly honest. And obviously it was a hard-fought 1-0 away win against Bournemouth. I love the fact Liverpool can equalise, because it means United still have to go for it in the last 2 games. So fingers crossed, Bruno gets something against Chelsea and Haaland doesn't go absolutely mental against Brighton away from home. But Brighton away from home, it's not an easy fixture. They've already won the league. They just obviously have to have a bit of momentum going into the final. So I went for it. At the moment, it's paid off. I don't expect it to still have paid off by the end of the game week. But if you would have asked me what position I would want to be in at the moment and Bruno's outscored Haaland, I'd be quite happy with that. So, yeah, I've got a little bit of a green arrow up to 36k. I dropped down to 40k after the double game week. So, yeah, is what it is. Not too bad. Yeah, moving on to Rich's points. Talk us through yours, my friend.
I was just going to say on your captain, all you really need is if Bruno gets a goal,
yeah,
you're going to be on like 13 points, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then, so you can afford for Haaland to get a brace then in
Yeah.
that scenario, and you're not lost out. So just any return from Bruno.
What
I
I
think
wouldn't
you're
have
good.
given for a Bruno goal against Bournemouth, like just a go, like my nerves would have been completely settled because, like you just said, you kind of it's really hard to then not win, isn't it? Like not win in that situation. But I know it. If Bruno's going to get me 6 points, and that's
You've
it. But
got
we'll
away
see.
with it a couple of times because I remember when you captained Kane, and then Man City were playing against Wolves. Wolves went down to 10 men,
Yeah.
and you survived. I think Haaland only scored one.
Yeah.
And I think he'd already scored when there was the red card as well. And I think it was the whole of the second half. So
Yeah.
you dodged it before.
I haven't gone away from Haaland very much this season. I
But
really
when you
haven't.
have, you've got away with it.
Yeah, and to go
Unlike
against him
someone.
in a double game week felt bad. But obviously, I had no idea Arsenal would lose, and I had no idea that City would have won the league by the time that he played. So, yeah, you could say there's a lot of luck in there. But talk us through your team, Rich.
Yeah, so I'm on 32 points with 2 players playing right now. So Trippier and Isak is unfortunately playing. I had to do a -4 this week as well for 2 of the most boring players possible, which was Fernandez and Shaw. But my team, it's still in goal. Still got the same 3 Brighton. I've had them for ages. Shaw, Trent, Trippier, Fernandez, Matoma, McAllister, Salah, and Rashford. And then Isak with Haaland captain. First sub Solanke. I benched Rico Lewis, which was pretty. I wouldn't say it was gutting, but the fact no one got that clean sheet, even the Kanji owners, he got subbed off before. So I could have had it, but I never expected him to play 2 games.
Yeah.
So, I was going to play Trent or Trippier over them. The only thing I was annoyed about was I was either going to sell Rashford or Saka to go for Bruno Fernandes. And there were mixed leaks. There were leaks saying that Rashford had travelled separately by unicycle, or I can't remember how he got there. And there were leaks saying that Rashford wasn't in the squad.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to believe. So I ended up just selling Saka instead of Rashford. I was really, really annoyed that I'd done that. I mean, Saka did blank.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little bit miffed because when the team updated, I have no differentials really. I think Isak now is my lowest in the 11, which means there's not much to cheer on really.
Well, especially with Haaland captain. What is he, 190 something percent still?
That's the thing. It's kind of like I didn't really care if Haaland played or not. All it's going to do is hurt people like yourself who haven't captained Haaland. It's not going to benefit me in any way.
Yeah. No,
the only benefit really is I could potentially overtake you, but then I'm going to feel bad for you. So,
well, it's all right, mate. When Isak gets his brace tonight, we'll be fine. That'll be your differential points.
It's not happening.
No,
it's
I
not
know.
happening.
No, I know. Seb, moving on to you. How are you doing so far this week? It looks very similar to somebody else on the stream.
Yeah, such is the way. 33 points so far, stealing goal with 2. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Shaw, who's my highest scorer so far, I think, with the 9. And then DS at the back. I did Ake to DS as my 1 transfer. That went exceptionally. Neither played. Good times. Salah with 5. Fernandez vice-captain on 3. And to be fair, I rate your Fernandez shout over Haaland. Like, yeah, you didn't know that Arsenal would lose. And there were 2 things there, right? We didn't think Arsenal would lose. And then we didn't think Pep would respond in the way that he did. Yeah. So it's not that you called that, but one of those swings, lovely bit of outcome. Well, potentially so far. Yeah, I mean, a massive 2 points for you so far. But I've got Rashford as well, who's got a big old 0. Trippier playing at the moment would come in for him if he continues to get 0 minutes. McAllister with 5 and Matoma with 5. A couple of nice assists there. Wilson up front playing now. I resisted the urge to do Wilson to Julian Alvarez. Maybe I should have done, but I think if I had Isak, I would have done because out on the left, no penalties. Wilson happy to hold. Maybe I wanted to hold because emotionally attached to it after last week. But really, I think the thing was I wanted 2 frees for the final week, so I spent my 1 transfer on Ake, who it looked like either wouldn't play or Wilson nearly got in. I think. Ake looked like he wouldn't play or would only play 1. And I thought, okay, go to Diaz because, hopefully get a better chance of a double there. At least have someone who's likely to get more minutes in the final 3 matches we were preparing for at the time. And then roll the transfer. So a bit of a boring team there. Haaland captain to round out my boringness. Kepa, Trippier, Botman, Greenwood on the bench.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Yeah, it's obviously you've just mentioned there about Game Week 38 1 in 2 free transfers. I really wanted 2 free transfers as well. I was really tempted to do Isak to Alvarez, especially after watching Isak play left wing back for so long as well. But I just held off.
He's looked good tonight, man. But wide, but good. He's like the most dangerous player by a mile.
Yeah, he's kind of got those vibes at the moment, though, hasn't he? Like, a bit like Matoma at the moment, where he's looking good every week, but he's just not getting those returns. But
it's one of those, like, when I say most dangerous, I mean, like, from a footballing perspective, he's looking brilliant, like, creating stuff. Yeah. But from an FPL perspective, the things he's creating is maybe one pass further back, or he's unlikely to get into a goal-scoring position because he's going to the byline or whatever. So it's a tough one.
We get it, Seb. We should have gone Wilson.
I didn't.
No, it's fine. Keep mentioning it. It's fine. Rich has left for everybody that's listening on the pod. Look, this is what you were saying as well. I fancied having 2 free transfers more in the last game week because I just felt like it was a better differential, or it's better punt to take in game week 38 as opposed to game week 37, because Alvarez, I had no idea whether Alvarez was going to play either. If I thought Haaland was going to, and maybe KDB did, I had no idea whether Alvarez would play. So it just felt like a bit more of a fun risk to take in going into the final game week. And if we have a look at the fixtures in game week 38, we've got Arsenal against Wolves, we've got Villa against Brighton, Brentford against Man City, Chelsea against Newcastle, Palace against Forest, Everton versus Bournemouth, Leeds versus Spurs, Leicester West Ham, Man United Fulham, and Southampton Liverpool. Rich, as we're looking at those fixtures there, are there any that kind of shoot out at you as to saying, oh, I tell you what, now we know fixtures from game week 37, or most of them so far, I fancy a bit of, owning a few players in that game?
This is going to sound a bit mad, but I don't think it is mad. But it's still those Arsenal players.
Yeah.
My original plan was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I still had 3 of them, and because of the doubles, I've had to sell them. And now this is why I was annoyed about Saka, even though he blanked.
Yeah.
Because a player like Saka, even the defenders, I know they're on a horrific run of form, but at home to Wolves, I think that's one of the standouts. When you start thinking United might have already, done what they need to do by then as well. City, it sounds like they're partially on the beach. Maybe they're Pep's quite big on his rhythm, etc. But still, it's an away game.
Yeah.
So I always like City at home a lot more than away. So for me, that Arsenal game stands out more than any other. I've seen some people bigging up Everton. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like amazing.
First time this year. Yeah.
Like there was a lot of people talking about going for Calvert-Lewin, for example, before he got injured. But
yeah.
Bournemouth aren't horrific. Bournemouth have done pretty well, and Everton are still Everton. Everton are that team. I remember doing a -12 for a load of Everton players.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that long ago. It was the week that United lost 7-0, and sorry. And there was a lot of laughing at people getting like a Iwobi and McNeil. And yes, McNeil had a haul the other day, and I think he could be an option this week. But I wouldn't expect huge things from him. So for me, Arsenal, that's the standout for me. That's the one I want to get to. Whether I can or not, I'm not sure.
No, I like that. I like Arsenal, and I will talk about a few Arsenal players in my differential team a bit later as well. Seb, is there any fixture here that you like?
Rich has covered some of the obvious ones, like Jesus in the Arsenal one, similar sort of reasons, why I'd like Arsenal, but I like that striker spot. Everton Bournemouth also did stand out to me just because Everton do actually have to get a result there in theory. Obviously, we'll lose to Spurs. Speaking of which, I guess you go one of two ways in that Leeds Spurs match, don't you? You go a Leeds player and go, oh, well, they've got to do something, or you be a bit more sane and you go Harry Kane and go, he's going to score 5, which is quite possible. I think Palace Forest as well, just of the teams that in theory have nothing to play for. If this was any other week and we were looking for something a little bit different, since being a failure in double game week 27, I think it was, Eze did nothing in that week. He's done really, really well. And I think if Palace, were to go and put a couple of goals against Forest, maybe Forest score a couple as well. But I'd be surprised if Eze wasn't involved. Nice price, midfield. Our midfields are relatively packed. But if you're looking to lose a Brighton midfielder, which I think, I've got 2 free transfers. I think there's a chance it's a forward and a Brighton midfielder if I want to mix things around a bit. I don't think I'll go Eze personally. Let's see how the team looks. But if you are losing a Brighton midfielder, I wonder if there's a decent replacement there. And I guess because it's tradition, Heung-min Son, if we're looking for a differential, a player that no one will own, who does have the pedigree, who does have a fixture here, you never know. Although we're going to be, low blocking for our lives now, aren't we? I don't know if that suits Son as much as the old Leeds did.
Yeah. I also, and this is a bit of a weird one because Brighton have been so good this year, I fancy Villa to do quite well against Brighton on the last game of the season as well. And I think Watkins obviously just missed a pen, but if you're looking to replace some of those Brighton midfielders, I think Ramsey is a really good pick. I think Ramsey is someone that is creepily gone under the radar this year. He's had a really good season. Yeah, creepily. That's worse than slowly. But he's had a creepily gone under the radar. Sorry. And I think he could be somebody that isn't a bad shout either. But obviously, we're going to talk about that. I think a lot of people are going to be getting rid of, like you just said, Brighton and Newcastle. I think they're the two players that maybe people are going to be getting rid of. If they got 2 free transfers, they got 1 free transfer, whatever it is. I'm looking at my team, and a lot of it's going to be sticking. Apart from Newcastle and Brighton, just look a bit kind of precarious in my team. So I think they're the two. Don't tell me what's happened, Seb.
Oh, just a shot from Anderson from distance. It was nice, but nothing exciting.
Can I ask
I'm not sure the assist would have been relevant either.
Yeah.
Can I get both of your thoughts on, because I know that Everton have got something to play for.
Yeah.
But for me, that makes me think they're going to try and grind out a 1-0, 1-1, 0-0. It doesn't scream to me goals.
So they need...
when you get at the end of it, say a City game, for example, they're 2 or 3-0 up.
Yeah.
They just...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not comparing Man City to Everton, but they just kind of... It's almost not worth watching the last 10 minutes sometimes. They're not trying to score.
Because I refuse to look at the league table.
Their manager's not really known for 1-0 wins, though, are they?
Hey. So we are on 31 points with negative 27 goal difference. Everton are on 33 with negative 24. Leicester 31, negative 18. So the better goal difference goes to Leicester, but let's assume they lose tonight as well. Realistically, Everton, if they hit 34 points, they still need to have a better goal difference than Leicester to be sure. Leicester have West Ham at home. If Leicester gets something out of tonight, if Leicester gets something out of tonight, maybe we should look at Leicester players against West Ham, right? But I think Everton, they're not going to just go and attack and risk losing loads. But I do think they need to score and do better than, well, they obviously don't want to lose. But if they win, they stay up, right? So that's what they've got to go for in Sean Dyche style. But in that case, we're looking at, I think DCL isn't a bad shout. Could you look at a centre-back? Could you look at a Tarkowski? Because I know, meme from last time, but want to keep a clean sheet, want to get something from set pieces or whatever. We know he's dangerous. I think there is something there to look at.
Bournemouth have conceded over 30 goals from set pieces this season. And obviously, Yerry Mina came in not that long ago, and he scored a goal the other day as well.
So when we're talking about Everton punts, we're not talking about going for like the 6-0 Everton win or 6-5 or something.
We're
talking
about 15
about
points.
Yeah,
defender.
we're just trying to grab that 15-pointer. Yeah.
Patrick
Van Aanholt style.
Is there a 5 or 6-0 in here? I mean, if Man City put their first team out, that's always possible. Arsenal could turn it on. Spurs versus Leeds is rubbish. Maybe Man United, Fulham. But in the past as well, it's not necessarily been predictable. And even if it has, like, say, Liverpool destroy Southampton, it could be one of those Trent and Robbo are both bench, which we saw, was it 2-3 years ago?
Simicas played, didn't it? No, who was it? Neco Williams played as well, didn't he?
Was it Neco Williams?
Yeah, I remember that because I brought him in.
Nice.
Yeah,
but there's always this dream and fantasy about Gameweek 38 that, you're trying to find this 5-all, like with Lukaku against Man United, stuff like that. I think it's really hard to find. So that's what I was trying to, with the punts. I see Arsenal being the highest scoring game.
Yeah, it's all about narratives in Gameweek 38, isn't it? Like, it's all the narratives that will go flying around.
And the narratives would be after as well.
Big time. I mean, Arsenal, you could easily say, right, pressure's off now. Absolutely fine. They're going to absolutely hammer Wolves. Spurs could go absolutely crazy against Leeds. Liverpool could absolutely thrash Southampton. Like, it could be anything. Frank Lampard's last game as interim manager, Newcastle might absolutely spank him. It's all over the place, isn't it? Brentford could do well against Man City because Man City have now won the league. Who knows?
Here's a question for you then. So obviously, I guess we've kind of looked at this from a point of view of let's try and find someone who will gain you points that others won't have. What if, I was going to say Harry, but I guess he probably wants to get top 100 or whatever. But say you're I don't know, what's a nice comfortable? You're just inside the top 5k.
Why don't you use yourself as an example?
No, I don't want to. But you've got
in the top 10k.
Fine, whatever. So 9k, right? Snuck into the top 10k. Obviously 9k, 6k, whatever. You write that down as top 10k, don't you? it's not like I'm going to go and get 4, 3, 2, 1K, something like that. I'm not going to get anywhere near my best rank. So realistically for me, the biggest thing I'm likely to do is ruin it and go and finish 15K. So like, what should someone be doing in that situation? Like, what should we be avoiding?
Well, I mean, it kind of proves it last week. Like you'll be doing stuff like obviously this week you wouldn't captain Isak, but that was the safe inverted commas play last week. And I tried to play really safe last year when I was in your position, and I ended up just plummeting. So I think it's really hard to do to try and maintain where you are.
Yeah. I always
I
go
mean,
for
the
it in
obvious
last
answer
week.
is always just go for the points, right? But I think in this last week, it's interesting because we frame it's less sort of just pick the players that we think will score the most points because it's a lot harder. It's a 1 week prediction, and also there'll be a lot of rotation. But we always focus on this, like attack it, attack it. It's interesting to. I wonder what you do if you defend. Just pray.
I don't think you like as soon as you try and be defensive, that's when you probably struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I just think even though you're going maybe for the template picks, you're going for them because you think they're going to score the most points, aren't you? So if you think those template picks are going to score points, you're still going to bring them in. Like Rich did this week with Bruno and Shaw. Yes, they were template, but he saw them scoring more points than anybody else he could bring in. So I think that's fine. I just always go for it in Gameweek 38 just because, it's the last week, isn't it?
What do you think about hits? Because about 4 seasons ago, maybe it was, I think it was about 4 seasons ago, I remember sat there bored on a Sunday and I ended up doing a hit to get Vardy in. And he was playing Chelsea. It was for no reason other than like vibes. It's game week 38. And it didn't pay off. And I remember being annoyed about it all summer. It only cost me like 4 points.
Yeah.
But I don't think hits this week are any good. And that's why I imagine you wanted to have 2 free transfers.
See, I did a hit last year in Game Week 38, and I did a hit for Maddison, and it paid off because he got a goal and an assist.
Was someone out, like a big player benched or something?
I can't remember who I brought out, to be honest. But I wanted Maddison in, I can remember that, and he got a goal and assist. But I also brought in Tony, and he blanked, I think. But
Did it annoy you all summer about Tony?
No, it didn't actually. No, I forgot about it straight away.
A healthy approach to the game. How refreshing.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
out of here. Stop that right now.
I'm still fuming now.
Yeah.
Tony Vardy.
So looking at FPL Review's model here to see who is going to be getting the most points or expected points in Game Week 38. Salah is top, and I think a lot of people are talking about Salah as captaincy as well. Got Southampton. They're away from home, but obviously Southampton have been pretty abysmal this season. Saka is next. Rich has obviously been talking about Saka a little bit there, talking about Arsenal, home to Wolves, not a bad fixture. Rashford next, as long as he's back fit. Eze is fourth. Really interesting there, Eze being fourth.
Is that because I remember we talked a few weeks ago? We were doing Seb put together about 50 slides on Eze against Elise.
Yeah.
Is that because Eze took a penalty, so he's now on penalties? Because we didn't have that back when you guys free hit in 32.
Potentially. I don't have a solid answer for you. I don't want to guess. I mean, he has been better than Elise. At the time when we looked at them, there wasn't a huge amount to go on because Hodgson was relatively new there. Eze had moved inside into like that central sort of attacking 8, I guess, was maybe the best description at the time. Position, whereas Elise was obviously still wide, sharing some set pieces. Since then, though, I think it's been proven out that, tiny sample, right? So proven out is the wrong phrase, but the Eze potentially is more involved in how they are attacking, or at least had the rub of the green. And yes, I would imagine this is the free model, by the way, I should say. So there is obviously a paid model as well. This is the free one, which has a few different things in there, a few more vibes for good luck. But Eze does come out higher here, and yes, we heavily favour, of course, set piece takers, as we should, because having a penalty is a free, very, very, very good chance of getting points.
Haaland to Ayew could be an interesting. Oh no, Ayew's a midfielder this year. Excuse me. When did that happen? To be honest, I hadn't actually looked at that.
I don't know. Interesting. Watkins is next. I've mentioned that Villa fixture against Brighton. Then Gakpo. So 2 Liverpool players in the top 6. Kane, Trent, Odegaard, Maddison, Bruno, Jesus, Jordan Ayew, Haaland, Elise, Trossard, Gabriel, Wilson, Son, and White. Quite an eclectic kind of selection there, I would say. What I do find interesting is obviously Rashford being third there, but like Richard said, you would expect there to be a few more players from, for instance, City. Like there's literally Haaland, that's it. And obviously they've got Brentford. You've got Salah, who's right at the top there, but then Gakpo's the next in 6th. Eze being 4th, I think is lovely there. I think for the price as well, he's worth a bit of a punt there, Seb.
Rich, you go. You wanted
Well,
to talk.
I was just going to say, because I've seen a lot of people bigging up Eze. I saw Praz was doing it earlier, so I imagine he'd be talking about Eze later in the week.
Yeah.
I imagine Eze is going to be one of those players you think is a differential punt.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the deadline comes, he's not going to be.
Yeah.
It's not going to quite be Grealish levels, but these differential players that we keep talking about just seem to not be differentials by the time the deadline comes. So especially if something happens with Matoma or McAllister this week, I can imagine he's going to be quite sought after and quite highly owned, unless there's leaks that big players are benched, and then people might not need the money, like Salah, for example.
Yeah.
Although then I guess people might do Salah to Eze and then get Kane in somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the elephant in the room, right? We're gonna very, very likely. You can't even call them leaks at this stage. We might get 10, 20 lineups just presented to us at 1:45 or 2:15, whatever it'll be. Like, we may well know all of the relevant information in terms of who's going to play. So something like this here, which the free model again from FPL review, this will be updated throughout the week. The key thing here is that left-hand side column, X-mins, that is their expected minutes, the number we would expect them to play during that week. Now, I think if I get this correct, it isn't necessarily, Hakpo will play 71 minutes, for example, because there's obviously accounts for like he might start but then get injured or whatever, he'll get subbed. There's a chance he might get benched. So it's kind of like maybe the best way to describe it, I hope I'm accurate in saying, that if you wrote 90 here, you'd be saying, I am 100% confident that they will get 100% of the available minutes. So even someone who gets 90 every week, you might give 89 because there's a chance they'll get injured.
Got 90.
Watkins is on 90.
Oh, there you go then. Then we're super confident he's going to get 90.
Yeah.
Maybe I've explained that poorly. But yeah, so we'd be very, very confident then that he's going to get all 90 minutes. Maybe you want to factor in, injuries. So maybe personally, I would drop that to 89 or something, which is what you're free to do. Obviously, adjust the minutes. But with those minutes assumed here, these are the projected points. Again, I think we've explained that in the past, right? It isn't necessarily this is the amount they will score. It's of all the possible ranges of points they could get. This is like our median for that. So they will vary from this, of course, hence the variance. But this is the expected middle ground. As the week goes on, this will change. And crucially, on Sunday afternoon, I don't know if the website would update in time. And when we look at Rate My Team, obviously the same thing goes, right? They have a Scout here, have a different model, but it arrives in a similar way in terms of how we project who's going to score points. On Sunday afternoon, when we know the teams or when we know a lot of information about the teams, we can look at something like this again and go, oh, Jesus isn't starting. Well, obviously I should remove him from my considerations, but Haaland is starting. Only 57 minutes here, but well, that's going to be like 8. He's got 4.5 here. It would be like 8 if we knew he was starting or something, wouldn't it? Just to guess how that would move up.
Yeah.
I think that's why there's only one City player on there as well, isn't it? Like if we know, for example, I mean, for my if I knew Rico Lewis was playing, for example, I would start him, and I guess that would be the same for any City player. I mean, Alvarez, Mahrez, Grealish. So I guess it depends how kind the leaks are going to be.
Yeah. Kane's on here as well. Second best striker for this week, apparently, Rich. You get him in this week. The problem is, I don't see him hauling. That's the thing. Like, he gets you 6, 7, 8 points every week. Lovely stuff. Do you really want that in the last week? Is that where you would go?
I mean, I was looking at that. Not looking at getting Kane, but I was looking at Spurs, and Spurs don't score many. The last few, since that Liverpool game that was 4-3, wasn't it crazy? They've only really scored 1 goal in each game. It just happens to be Kane. He finds a way no matter what. So yeah, I do kind of agree with that. I think the only way I could see myself getting Kane would be there'd have to be some huge benching news. There'd have to be like Salah's bench, Bruno Fernandes's bench, something like that.
Haaland's,
Actually, Haaland would probably be the most obvious example.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had Kane, like I know Joe's got Kane, I'd consider him a captain option.
Yeah.
But I'm just not going to go ripping up my team to get him unless it's just a really clear route becomes available and I've got loads of money to spend.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a good option. I mean, I'd much rather have him than Watkins, for example.
Yeah.
Despite what we see on here, and I do quite like Watkins this week. I don't know because we've talked about it before that he's bad at penalties. I think he's even under 50% for penalties scored in his career. So, is he still on penalties? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've brought up the scout rate my team now as well, so we can see the projected expected points from scout now as well. I mean, it's a very, very similar list. They have Haaland up top because I'm assuming there's no X minutes kind of consideration here.
I think they're in the background. Rate my team.
Yeah, they are. And that might be a nicer sort of suggestion of what we'd expect from Haaland.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a bit ambitious with 8 a minute ago, but maybe that's what because I guess he's already got the 2 appearance points either way.
Yeah.
So if Haaland did indeed start and play an hour and a bit, maybe we're pushing closer to 5, 6 points, something like
that. Yeah. So using the data from review and the data from Scout as well, Seb, if I had to ask you for 2 players that you think could do well next week, who are they going to be? And let's say you're not allowed to pick Salah because Salah is top of both lists. So who would be your 2 players you'd be like, actually, I fancy getting them in next week?
For what it's worth, if we know Haaland's starting, I would still be tempted to captain Salah. I think it's one of those, one of those game week 9 situations that we could have had earlier in the season. Yeah. But with those 2 aside, because if Haaland starts, that's an easy one as well. If Haaland doesn't start, I think there's a nice move to Kane there, so he would definitely be on my radar.
Yeah.
And I liked Eze before this, and then we looked at these tables. You mentioned that obviously other people have spotted that as well. That reinforces that. What's the word? That confirms my bias.
Yeah.
So I quite like Eze there. I will happily pick and champion Eze.
Yeah. And Rich?
Yeah, I'm growing. That Eze pick's growing on me. And Saka, obviously. But the 2 things they've got in common is they seem pretty nailed.
Yeah.
And they're both on penalties. That's if I can get a penalty taker in, I'm always happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, there'd be the 2 for me. I think they're quite obvious. When we've looked at both of those projected points, we've talked about them a fair bit as well. There could be some fun defenders. I always like Gabriel, for example, as well. I kind of miss him.
Yeah.
Yeah, players. I mean, he's been topping, the XG for defenders, or was, for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe he's due one more,
A swan song goal for Rich.
Yeah, and Wolves players are quite short. I haven't got the stats from conceding from set pieces, but quite a small team. That's my impression of them anyway.
Look, this season started with absolutely ruining Lisandro Martinez because he joined the league and he could never be successful in the league because he was short. Look what happened. All right.
Oh.
Look what happened.
Got injured.
Stop it. He has actually asked me to stop tweeting him every time we kept a clean sheet. Right.
Jamie asked.
There'd have been a lot of tweets, actually.
Yeah, there would.
I can't believe how many clean sheets you kept.
Yeah, 16. De Gea's got the Golden Glove this year, hasn't
he?
Yeah.
What a weird season for clean sheets.
Do you think our goal difference is plus 13? We're in the top 4 and we've kept 16 clean sheets. How bad. How many times have we been absolutely ruined in like the odd game? Anyway.
I guess that kind of shows how clean sheets is a tough metric when we're looking at defences, right? Because it's a very
spread those 7 goals against Liverpool out a little bit. That could have been, 9 clean sheets, for example.
That's how maths works, Rich. Yes. Right. Now, are you ready, boys? Chat, are you ready? Oh, almost 200 people in the chat. Here is my differentials for game week 38. We are, of course, using FPL Team from Peter. Thank you so much for letting us use your app this year, Peter. It's been genuinely essential for me this season.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It really is brilliant. Everything I used to do on paper and pen, I now do on FPL Team. It's amazing.
You're saving the planet. Peter's saving the planet.
He is. Well, you say that. He's now flying off in his private jet elsewhere because he's, doing so well off this app.
From all the ad money.
Yeah. So I've got Johnston and De Gea in goal. To be honest, I found it really hard to pick a keeper. So I've got Johnston in goal because I'm not expecting Forest to score. Although I say that now, our knees seeming to be on an absolute haul at the moment, isn't he? I've got Tierney at the back. I picked Tierney at the back because I do quite fancy Arsenal against Wolves. I picked Tierney, but he didn't actually start the last game, did he? That Kiwior, or whatever his name is, started?
Yeah. And was there a half-time sub defender or an early sub?
Was that the one, wasn't it? Didn't Tierney come on?
I think so. I think it was a half-time from memory. So that did spook me a little bit and push me a bit more back to Gabriel again.
Yeah, because I thought Zinchenko out. I was like, yeah, get Tierney in. But it hasn't been as clear-cut as I thought it would be. But if he gets to start the final game, I think there's a nice little go under.
Apparently he's going to Newcastle.
Is he?
Yeah.
Then we've got Yerry Mina at the back. I mentioned him already. Bournemouth are absolute... What?
I think Wilson just hit the post. Anyway, carry on as well.
Yes, Yerry Mina at the back. Bournemouth are absolutely terrible against set pieces. Like I said, conceded over 30 goals from set pieces this year. Yerry Mina loves a set piece goal. And then I got Robertson at the back just because, I mean, most people have Trent anyway. Then Anthony in the middle, Maddison, Trossard. Trossard is my pick this week. If I was going for an Arsenal player, I'd be going for Trossard. I do like Saka because of the pens, but I love the fact Trossard pretty much nailed a play, at least start, but he does sometimes go off early, but I fancy him against Wolves at home.
Odegaard at all?
Odegaard's top of a lot of expected minutes for that price range. So Odegaard again. I still feel the same about Odegaard. I just still feel like one of those wingers is more exciting, so I think I'd go Trossard personally. And then Luis Diaz, if he plays, with Eze in there as well. Kane up top with Umbumo. Just silence. Just in case City are completely, Grealish has been out on the Raz 3-4 days in a row, and Bumo just there to. He's done so well since Tony's been suspended. So, you never know.
Is this because you had Tony against City before Christmas?
What's this?
Do you remember you had Tony? You do,
I do
remember
remember.
this?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Is this kind of
braced, didn't he?
link? Yeah, it's kind of linked to it. And Haaland
your
got
Tony
1 point.
shout then was really nice. He did do so well for a few weeks.
So no, it's nothing to do with that. But look, Brentford at home. They're good at home. Man City just won the league. You never
They've
know.
got
They
the
could score
worst
an odd
fixtures
goal.
for the rest of the season, Brentford.
I know. You mentioned that before the stream. They really do.
I did. And you still put him in.
Yeah, I did. So Mbumo and Kane, and then Mings, Castagna, Watkins on the bench. Seb, humour me. Any of them here take your fancy? Obviously, you've mentioned Eze before. Anybody else?
You just confirm my bias. It's sweet music to me. I would take this. I guess Robertson is the alternative over Trent, right? You see Trent, go Robertson, fair enough. Yerry Mina, you shouted him earlier. Yeah, fair. I like that. That's a nice shout. Tierney, I guess the minutes might worry me, but again, I guess it's an Arsenal defender that's different. Trossard makes a lot of sense. Kane, I don't even know if he counts as differential at this stage. I know low ownership or whatever, but in terms of the context of what we're looking at here, Mbumo, I guess you've referenced it, but vice captain, buddy, he's starting against City.
Eze captain.
If it were, Eze captain, fair play. If it works, but all credit to you. But you've got a free hit, and you're thinking, who can I play up front? I've got two strikers in my team.
Yes,
50% of my strike force should probably play the best defense in the league. I've nailed it, guys. Yeah, post it. I've done it.
Mbumo. Jim Hilkins says Luis Diaz is the best pick here. Obviously hasn't got to the strikers yet.
That's
Rich,
a nice shout.
Yeah, Rich, anyone here?
There's so many of these players that I would want a leak to consider putting in my team.
Yeah,
as in a huge amount of Tierney, I'd want a leak. Robertson, I'd want a leak because Tsimikas can play. It's happened before. He's been benched, in game week 38. Maddison's benched today. I'd assume he plays, but who knows? Anthony, could Rashford will be back? Could Garnacho play? I feel like you might be playing for nothing at this point. Trossard the same. Luis Diaz as well. And also, interestingly, I wouldn't want to bench De Gea, although you kind of got this unstoppable force. Well, no. De Gea doesn't save many penalties.
No.
Mitrovic, I know he scored a penalty, but he's not very good at them. You've got stuff like that. If you're looking for a haul.
Yeah.
Maybe Watkins on penalties. Maybe I'd still want Steele in goal. I've only just thought of this.
I'm trying to think who my notable mentions were as well, because I messaged both of you saying...
I can find that for you.
I think I've got it here, actually, yeah.
I don't think I replied because I didn't see it.
No, I know. My notable mentions were Ramsey in the middle, Solanke up top, McNeil, Iwobi, Gakpo, and Son. So
yes, I like the Solanke pick.
Yeah.
I do have Solanke in my team, that's why. But I was creating a narrative earlier, and I was just thinking, if Everton have to go for it, Solanke, even though he's not that great away from home.
I don't see that game being high scoring.
No, nor
really
do I.
don't.
That's why I was slagging off Everton.
Also,
but I can create a narrative to make Solanke sound good in the 1-0 Everton win.
Very interesting Bournemouth's lineup against United. They didn't have Billing, and I think it was Lerma they didn't have either. It screamed to me we're just going to rest our players now. Like, it was really interesting. And obviously, even then, it was only a 1-0 win for United. But it was just interesting. Like, you can kind of tell with like teams like Bournemouth when they're kind of putting their foot off the gas. And it seemed like that just a little bit.
Yeah. I did watch quite a lot of their game against Palace.
Yeah.
And they weren't trying, to be fair.
Yeah. I think
but you can't read too much into that. We thought Fulham were on the beach, and then they've scored some goals recently.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitrovic is on fire, isn't he?
Why is Seb looking so happy? What's happened, Seb?
I don't worry. Like, when people listen to this and they know the Newcastle result, it's not nearly as interesting me going, "Oh, Wilson went close again." However, he has had like 0.5 XG. I'm so unlucky. I can't believe he's not had a goal yet.
Oh, I don't want to walk off the stream again, but I will. Right.
Last time we finished streaming, turn the telly on, Trent scored.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so Wilson's going to score when this ends.
Yeah, no, he won't.
Let's never end.
I mean, to be fair, he's currently behind the player that a lot of people have in that spot, right? In terms of Alvaro's, like that was the move I resisted doing. He got a goal, got a couple of bonus, got another match to go. I mean, he's going to get more minutes than I thought he would, because I thought he would probably sit one of them or at best play in midfield. So yeah, probably do need something from Wilson. But in terms of to actually not be net negative on that potential move.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at the bus teams then. So here's my bus team for the weekend. I've got Kepa in goal. He's like a cockroach. He just does not go every week. Yeah. So I've got Kepa in goal. Estupinan, Trent and Shaw at the back. Salah, Mitoma, McAllister, Rashford and Bruno in the middle, with Haaland and Isak up top. At the moment, I've actually got Bruno as captain, but I'm pretty sure it'll be Salah as captain. I have 2 free transfers. And do you know what? I'm going to leave it a little bit open. I've got a kind of list of players that I might want. I think Eze is quite high up there as well. I think if I can somehow get Kane, but it's really tough owning Bruno, Salah, Haaland, and then trying to get Kane. So I don't think that's probably going to be a move. I think it will be those Brighton lads and maybe Isak going for someone else. So it might be that I take Isak out and bring in a striker, and it might be that I take McAllister or Mitoma out. Probably be Mitoma because Max obviously got penalties, and take Mitoma out for someone like Eze. I think that's how I might be going. I'd love to make a keeper change, but I just can't. I can't do a keeper change in the last week for a hit. So I think that's probably the way I'll be going. Rich, let's have a look at your best team.
Could have the ultimate redemption if Kepa saves a Wilson penalty.
Oh God, could you imagine?
Just keep making narratives.
I'd love it. Right,
you overtake Seb because of it.
Oh, I don't think that's going to happen.
He's so good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. When Trossard gets a hat trick. Right. Go on in, Rich. Talk us through your team, mate.
Yeah, I'm not feeling. I mean, I actually quite like my team, but there's not much I can do. I've got 1 free transfer. I've got 0.3 in the bank because I waited until the deadline again. I lost about 0.6 on Saka because I sold him and bought him back. But anyway, yeah, I've got Steele in goal, so hopefully he saves a Watkins penalty. Shaw, Trent, and Trippier. Bruno, Rashford, Salah captain, McAllister and Mitoma, Haaland and Solanke. And then my bench is like Raya, Isak, Lewis, and Botman. Now, obviously, if I got a leak that Lewis is starting, I'm gonna put him in the team. I don't really know what my move's gonna be. I think I'm gonna be waiting for leaks. I've got a couple of ideas. Like I considered like Trippier to an Arsenal defender. That's probably the most likely one if leaks didn't exist, or if I couldn't be around at the deadline, because I guess there will be people in position like that. Unless we know Rashford's out, but then I can't get Rashford up to Saka, and it doesn't sound like he is going to be out, by the way.
No.
But I mean, Rashford to like Odegaard or Trossard could be a thing, or to Eze. I'm pretty locked on playing Solanke. I could afford Isak to Watkins actually. Just don't know how much I like that after the penalty miss. So there's nothing that exciting. Oh, I could also do Mitoma to Eze. I think I have the exact money.
Yeah.
Unless I get priced out.
Poor. If you've got the exact money now, that's going to be tough to wait till then, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would wait because I mean all it takes is Salah being benched. With 1 free transfer. I keep saying Salah would be benched. I don't think he will. He's my captain. I'm at 64k at the moment. I'd like to finish top 50k. I just don't think there's anything I can really chase here. I think Salah captain is probably going to be enough. If he does well, I could probably sneak in.
Yeah.
But I'm not really aiming for anything. I wish there was something more exciting. My money's all kind of spread out here, isn't it? I've got like Isak on the bench. I've got
And then you
Raya
want
on the
free
bench.
transfer
Who's
as well.
not cheap.
Yeah.
But there's no point doing hits to restructure the team. I don't think.
No.
Lewis can end up being the biggest differentiator of them all if I know he starts.
Yeah, he's looked
I'd
good.
be tempted. Yeah, I mean, I'd be tempted to play him over Trippier. But like you said, I was almost going to justify it by saying, well, if he doesn't start, he probably is like, well, we're probably gonna find that out. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, with Lewis, I don't want to talk about him too much, but the start of that Chelsea game, he was really advanced.
Yeah.
He could have scored as well with the Haaland cross. So there's differentials like that as well.
If
Obviously,
only
I
he was a
only bought him
goalkeeper,
because of the
Val.
price. But we did go through he was the top attacking defender for City as well.
Moving on to Seb's team.
Whoa, why are you laughing? That was real stats.
I remember it was like 0.21 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Go on, I'm moving on to Seb.
Miles clear.
Miles.
He was just clear of Cancelo, I believe.
Oh.
So sorry, but yeah, my
Silence.
team. Game week 38. Send help. Steele in goal, Trent Shaw and Diaz, who I replaced Ake with, and presumably will also still not play because he'll be partying. So good move.
Yeah.
Captain Salah. I think even if Haaland starts, I mean, let's see, right? Let's see how my courage is feeling. But Captain Salah, I think, makes sense even if Haaland starts. I think it's a good week. Like I said, if this was the middle of the season, it'd be a really interesting conversation, and I think I would edge Salah. Fernandez Vice, which I guess should be Haaland, actually, looking at that. Although maybe I've done this in case Haaland doesn't play. Once again, though, that might be a bit pointless. We'll probably find out. Rashford, we expect to be fit. I think he's a great pick. Wouldn't lose him if he's fit. McAllister, Matoma, one of them could go. As mentioned, Matoma to Eze seems easy enough. Wilson and Haaland up front. If Haaland does indeed play, I think Wilson to another forward is nice. I have the exact money to do Jesus. Not that exact money should matter. Please do not make transfers because of value at this stage. Value is entirely useless to you in like 8-9 days time. And if you get priced out of a move that turns out to be perfect on Sunday afternoon, that's just unfortunate, because the much more likely thing is you make a move and then find out lineups and something much better would come up, or your player doesn't even start. So please wait. Haaland then rounds off my team. Bench of Kepa, Trippier, Botman, and Greenwood, who will stay firmly third on that bench. I am a tiny bit tempted to see if I can get a Leeds player into this team. I've got two free transfers. Maybe I'll just buy them and bench them or something.
Well, yeah, I'd love
last chance, isn't it?
Yeah, get Harrison in. Right, and then have a look at the community team. Seb.
Is that working for you? I tried to do a sneaky while we were on because you had last week's community team.
Yeah, no, it's not on there.
Is it not? Okay, allow me to read this out. You had last week's community team, so I tried to replace it. And clearly I'm not going to, it's just blank, good. I've not done a good enough job. I have replaced it my end, so if I send it, but I know you can't change it because it'll mess stuff up.
Yeah.
So I will just bring this up for me here. So the community have 1 second. Talk more slowly. Fill the space. Talking slowly is not a thing I am very good at. We have the community team they're smashing it. What? De Gea with 7, 49 points overall so far this week.
Oh.
Trent on 1, Shaw on 9, Estupiñán on 2. Salah on 5, Ødegaard, who we brought in last week to make another transfer possible, started here for 2 points. Fernandez vice captain, 3 points so far, another fixture to go. McAllister and Toma with the double fives. Haaland captain with 2, unfortunately, but hey, that made a lot of sense. And Alvarez, that was the move. 8, Isak to Alvarez, lovely little move there. Another match to come. I think that's decent. Ryan on the bench with 4, Trippier, Shah, and Greenwood. We will, of course, poll this as we usually do. There is 1 free transfer, if I remember correctly, and we took a hit to make Alvarez possible. I cannot remember what we did to... Oh, goalkeeper, Raya. We did Kepa to Raya. So just to make Alvarez possible up front, I think.
Nice. Yeah, they're doing well. So what's their overall rank now?
They are currently 27,000, which is a recovery from 40k midweek. Currently ahead of 2 of the 3 of us here, and gaining on Joe. I think if I just have a little check, obviously this is midweek, so please, all these ranks are super tentative, but they are 8 points as we stand currently behind Joe. So there is a chance this community team beats a lot of us.
the wording Andy used then was very dismissive. It was like, "What's their rank?" Not what's our
their rank?
community rank. You know, what's their rank?
Well,
Oh.
yeah, no, true. I was going to say it is the community, but then they're our.
Yeah,
He's trying to distance himself.
They've done brilliantly. Us. I mean, you say us. It sounds like we're trying to claim this isn't us. They've done brilliantly. I thought genuinely when we set this up at the beginning of the season, like whatever happens now, if this ends up 50k, when we set this up at the beginning of the season, I thought at the end of the season we were going to have a smarmy moment where we could go, see, this is why, templates and groupthink and vibes on Twitter don't work. Well, it turns out all those things work. Sorry, team. We proved the opposite.
I know. And I'm quite happy to join in with their success as long as they're below me. But now they're above me, it's like, no, it is a them. It is a them.
Yeah. And if they finished 9,999th, Seb, and you're 10,000th, would you delete the team or?
What, his team?
Just change the name, mate. Just change the name. Just change the name. Oh, look, guys, I made it. Top Gun game. Yeah, woo.
Good God. Right. So let's have a look then at some questions. So chat, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Like I've said already, make sure you do hit that like button. We got over 200 of you in there. We only got about 40 likes. Come on. I know I've just been slagging you all off, but give us some likes. So chuck in some questions for us. And remember, we're not going to be here next week. This is the last time you've got us to answer some of your questions. So chuck them in as quickly as you can. We've got about 3-4 minutes. So chuck in as many as you can. Michael Whoop says, what about Haaland to Kane? We mentioned it already, Seb. If we get the leak that he's out, easy move?
Yep. I mean, the answer to a lot of these questions is going to be wait for the lineup. But yes, maybe a bit like last week, excuse the long answer, a bit like, was it last week? When we were like, okay, you're only going to have a few minutes to respond to leaks, and there's going to be a lot of them, potentially, unfortunately. So get some scenarios in your head. If Haaland doesn't start, go Kane. If Haaland does start, where else are you putting your transfer?
Yeah. Rich?
I didn't fully listen to the question. I was trying to work out what the question was from Seb's response.
So Haaland to Kane, if Haaland is out, is that an easy switch?
I mean, if you got one transfer like me, yeah, I think that's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, you could go Jesus as well.
Yeah.
I think Kane quite clearly edges it, to be honest.
Yeah. Heather says, who do I bring in for free hit 38? So if I kind of change this just a little bit, just to help her out, assuming Salah and Haaland both start, don't talk about those. Give us a defender, midfielder, striker that you'd like if you were on free hit 38. So go to Rich first.
So Gabriel.
Yeah.
I can't say Saka and Jesus, can I? But
no.
Saka.
Yeah.
And striker. I mean, it's hard not to say Kane. I mean, if in Liverpool, actually, I'll change the midfielder. If Gakpo starts, I'll go Gakpo.
Yeah.
And then striker-wise, you could then go Jesus, or you could go, I mean, if Firmino starts, for example.
Yeah.
That could be fun, or Jota.
Yeah. God, that strong X-narrative with Firmino as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it does sound like David Silva again, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was even thinking,
that. That's such a lovely shout.
Liverpool get a penalty in the 90th minute,
yeah,
does he just let Bobby take it? Possibly, but
we'd be fuming as Salah.
Well, yeah, but it's not. I was thinking it, but I don't think it's enough to put me off Salah captaincy.
No. Seb,
I don't think anyway.
Who would be yours?
I'll try and give you 3 different players. So there's a few options there. Your defender was Gabriel. I will go Trent. You went for change to Hakpo, didn't you, midfielder?
Yeah.
So I might steal Saka. I think it's a nice shout. Eze's there too, and then striker. I will go Kane because I think that's your free hit, right? That's a good one to get. If Haaland starts, have them both.
Yeah, lovely stuff. And for me, for my differentials, I'm going to go with Yerry Mina at the back, and then Trossard in the middle, and then Watkins up top. There you go. Just to have a bit of difference.
Not Mbumo, pal.
Oh, sorry. Mbumo up top, obviously.
He's pushing Mina like the people push Castagna on 32. You're trying to recreate Castagna.
Imagine if Mbumo scores. Like, you've got such a brilliant chance to be able to shout as well. Like, Mbumo. Like, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
But he won't get any bonus points because they lose 5-1.
Yeah, that's true.
We're now picking based on X shout.
Yeah, X chant. Who's the best chance of a clean sheet, says Keith Hill. Seb, who do you think?
Oh, I will grab the fixtures real quick. Obviously, there are odds for this kind of thing. Home team normally banks that. I mean, Man United are going to be pretty good against Fulham. Arsenal against Wolves are going to be pretty good. City are always decent, but away. I will give you Arsenal based on that.
Yeah, so I'd have gone for Rich.
Yeah, I'll go United then.
Yeah. Damien Bruins says midfielder punt under 6.6 million. Who do you think, Rich?
That's most defenders, isn't it? Under 6.6.
Midfielder.
Oh, midfielder.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm trying to think of ones we've not already covered because I just feel like saying Eze again.
He is under 6.6, isn't he? So
let's go Eze. Yeah, he's clearly under. It doesn't feel like if you were free hitting this week that money would be a problem. As in, you'll go for Kane, Salah, and Haaland, and then just load of cheap. There's a lot of cheap assets around.
Yeah, there are. Seb?
I'm tempted to say Leeds, but that's not helpful to you. So I'll go. Let's find someone different to Eze then. Looking at this real quick, got the fixtures. Let's look at who we had before.
Ramsey.
You did say Ramsey, but
Ramsey and Douglas Luiz. Every time there's a
that.
Villa goal recently, it seems to be they're involved.
Yeah, to be fair, Douglas. I mean, Douglas Luiz.
No. Like David's Kante shout.
Yeah.
It is genuinely tough. You know what? If we get a league and there's a random Man City midfielder, that'd be real tempting, wouldn't it? Is Palmer a midfielder?
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be weirdly tempting. If he's starting, that'd be oddly tempting, wouldn't it? Otherwise, Leicester West Ham match feels like there might be a bit of availability in there in that bracket.
What, under 6.6?
I think so.
Tielemans? Is he under 6.6?
This is not a quick fire question as I look up player prices, is it?
He's like, yeah, I reckon.
Hey, you know who's 6.6? Harvey Barnes. There you go.
Is he? Oh, fair play. There you go.
Have the player that always scores against Leeds.
It does feel a little bit like bingo this week, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
There's so many players. It's hard to argue
against. I think Eze's the good
players.
answer in that category, so I don't want to confuse that matter too much. Yeah, we're trying to look for something a little bit different. Ben Rama's 5.5, but if you're just looking for one, I think Eze is the pick you want to go there.
Yeah. Paqueta, by the way, as well. Or how does he say it?
Oh, nice.
Paquetá, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a shame Villa have quite a tricky fixture because a lot of people. Do you remember when Mings the other week was about 25% owned and he scored?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember that. Yeah.
Trossard is 6.6. Trossard.
Yeah. There you go. Trossard. Yes. Right. Thank you so much for everybody in the chat. Like I said, I think we peaked about 250, which is not bad when a game is on. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I really do hope that we've helped you this season as well. I don't think we have any intention of changing this next year. I think it's going to be us three, same time, same place every week. We'll see how it goes. So hopefully you've enjoyed it this year. If you have, please let us know, and please let Scout know as well, because otherwise we're going to get, they'll chop us. So Rich, thank you so much for this week, and thank you so much for this season, bud.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I only had to do half of it, didn't I? So
that's true.
And I'm still quite tired.
Yeah.
I don't know how you've done the whole lot.
No, I know. Neither do I, mate.
Actually, you're the only one who's done the whole lot.
Am I?
Yeah.
Where was Seb?
Yeah, I was away for
Seb wasn't here, was he?
Before the World Cup for a month, wasn't
I? Oh yeah, of course.
Didn't even notice.
No, he was always there in spirit. Seb, thank you so much for joining us tonight and this year.
Oh, thanks, mate. I feel like I've been all over the place tonight, so maybe the Scoutcast was 1 week too long. Yeah. I hope tonight's been useful. I'm not sure. No. But yeah, do we have is there a 1% chance we do a little post-season review? This feels very abrupt.
I
want a long drawn out goodbye.
Yeah, I know.
Because you're top 10k, so now you're like,
yeah. As soon as I drop to like 20, I'll be like, guys, that post-season idea, terrible. Scrap it.
Get rid of it.
See you in July. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's hopefully I'm on holiday, so I'm not here for the actual games, so I'm going to be gone. But I'll be back the week after, so maybe we can meet up and do something, couldn't we? We'll see what we can do. Guys that are in the chat and guys that are listening as well, thank you so much. Keep saying guys and girls. Thank you so much for joining us this year. We've really appreciated you. Like I said, we can't wait to have FPL back for the next season. Can't believe we're saying that already. But do make sure you enjoy your time away. This game can take up a lot of your time. Enjoy the time away. We have no World Cup, no Euros. Just enjoy the time off and come back with fresh heads and fresh prices and all that kind of stuff to look forward to as well. So good luck. Hope your arrows are green to finish you off this season. And we will see you again next year. Bye-bye.